up, guys? We're back, and we're here to talk about equipment. We have all sorts of fun gadgets to talk about. This was by popular request. People want to know what those things are that people are wearing, what the utility of it is, how good they are, when we recommend to use them, all that good stuff. So we're just going to go through a bunch of them. What you got?
Weightlifting shoes. Increases stability for squatting and Olympic lifting. Nice big elevated heel, nice and solid, so you're not squatting on like a pillow or the big soft portion of a running shoe. Also can help with people that have ankle restrictions, can increase ankle range of motion and put people in better positions. Yeah, also, and then as far as if you are a weightlifter, you can be aggressive with your feet, not worry about hurting your heel or something like that. So you can be very aggressive, getting your feet down on the ground and your jerk and your snatches and your cleans. Shoes we recommend: Adidas, Nikes. Those are the best ones.
Yeah, I mean, what you pay for is what you get. I mean, you can find weightlifting shoes for like $90, all the way up to about like what, $220 or something like that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: is you buy one pair and then you're good forever. This is my personal pair. I've had these for about 3 or 4 years, and I don't plan on buying new ones. My feet aren't getting any bigger. I threw down the $200, and now over the course of a few years, I've definitely got my money's worth. So definitely a sound investment if you are looking to do all those things that Andrew just said.
The topic of shoes.
Nope, just pull these guys off.
Yeah, some type of, it doesn't need to be necessarily like a CrossFit shoe or something, but Reebok definitely has, a good CrossFit shoe out there, and that it's a nice flat soled shoe. I think it's like a 2 millimeter drop from heel to toe, so it's pretty minimal. If not totally flat, I'm not positive on that. But basically allows you to feel the ground. You're not elevated up on the heel with a soft heel. That's not going to be a good thing, unlike the weightlifting shoe, which has a hard heel. It's going to keep you nice and flat, keep you in contact with the ground. Decent enough for running, good for squatting and all the loaded movements that we do. And yeah, Nike makes the Metcon, Reebok makes the Nano. There's Innovates, some people prefer Converse.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options out there.
They're lightweight, they're flat. Andrew mentioned a running shoe before. One of the primary disadvantages of using a running shoe in this type of environment is that they tend to be elevated but also smushy in the heel. So stability is not their primary asset, and they will tend to kind of want to rock you forward a little bit. So things like kettlebell swings and squatting can be a little bit problematic if you're getting up into the heavier loads.
Wrist straps, heavier wrist straps. There's also lighter wrist straps out there. If you don't need them, then don't use them. If you feel like you need them because your wrist is a limiting factor when it comes to going overhead or handstands or whatever it is, which positions that can be a little tougher on the wrist. Definitely use them if your wrists are going to be the limiting factor. If you guys ever have questions about wrist exercises, come and chat with us. We have a bucket full of toys that can help develop some wrist strength and mobility. But all in all, like I said, if it's the wrist that's the limiting factor on your overhead squat or your push press or whatever it is, then feel free to throw on some wraps. They can definitely help out a lot. Like I said, there's heavier ones like Eric has. There are lighter ones, which are just like a thinner fabric. But Eric uses them, so you can probably talk a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I actually try and use them less and less as time goes on, just because I found that I was relying on them too much. And with any of these things, you never want them to be a Band-Aid or a cover-up for like an injury or a limitation. So theoretically, everything is strong and it moves well, right? This is the ideal circumstance. And then you add this element of equipment to sort of optimize, as opposed to overcome a deficit. I mean, all of a sudden, if you're strapping on too many things or relying on too many different things to enhance your performance or get you through a workout, then maybe there's other things to work on. But this is definitely one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's great to have, it's a great tool to have, but maybe not relying on it too exclusively is the way to go.
A weightlifting belt, leather one or a fabric one. Very similar to the wrist straps. If your back kind of becomes a limiting factor, I feel like you're losing positions. Definitely it's okay to throw on a weight belt. We're not like totally against that. If it's 50% of your max, 60, even 70% of your max, and throwing it on, if that's your go-to, that's not necessarily the best thing. You want to reevaluate your positions, or work on your glutes, work on your hamstrings, work on your low back, make sure you loosen that up. But we're not against them. It's just not something we recommend. And if you can hang out without a weight belt, that's great. If you can deadlift, if your max deadlift is 450, you can do that without a belt, that's awesome. If you do 450 with a belt, that's great. If you're doing 100 with a belt, not quite so good, especially if your max is 450. So.
And then, there's sort of two things to consider here. The first of which is, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? So if you're here for just general functional fitness, the second that you rely on this to achieve your functional fitness, all of a sudden when you apply your functional fitness out in the real world, do you want to be thinking about whether or not you should be doing a weightlifting belt when you're like lifting groceries and stuff? I mean, it's sort of a weird thing. On the other hand, competing in the sport of CrossFit is different. It kind of boils down to every single little edge to get you first place. So those are that's the divergence of what we're kind of talking about here. When Andrew says, if you're using this for 50% of your max to, kind of mask an injury, maybe reevaluate your functional fitness.
Knee sleeves, thicker knee sleeve, I think it's 5mm neoprene, and then a lighter one. Hook grip knee sleeves are nice and light, they're pretty cool. We kind of recommend knee sleeves for almost everyone. Keeps your knees nice and warm. It's not necessarily a supporting device, but more so just making sure your knees are warm and they're feeling good, especially when it's cold out. Make your knees feel good. Not necessary if you're not squatting super heavy. A lighter one can be pretty nice. These are pretty cheap. The hook grip ones I think run like $14 for a pair, so it's not too bad. The neoprene ones are also very nice. They can keep you very, very warm. But yeah, two options, and I think they go up to 7mm, something like that. So there's tons of different options, tons of variations in the thickness and how warm they're going to keep your knees. And obviously as they get a little thicker, they're going to support. They're going to have some added support, but they definitely keep your knees warm, and I think anyone who wears them would probably recommend them because they're pretty nice.
Yeah, I can't think of too many downsides of wearing knee sleeves. I mean, it's kind of like, actually, the next thing we'll talk about, we don't have a demo, is compression tights. Or tights, they just keep, like if you wear a pair of, this is for the guys, boxer shorts and pants over top. When it's cold outside, all of a sudden you have a bunch of different fabric moving around, not super comfortable. Having a warm, fluid sort of mechanic type thing, so if you wear a compression top or compression shorts with knee sleeves, can keep you warm with the most little amount of stuff. So it's a pretty good thing to have. Let's see what else we got here. Gloves. So this is actually probably one of the most common questions for new entrants to CrossFit. Like when we're doing the intros and stuff, people talk about, can I wear gloves? Are you allowed to wear gloves? Absolutely. I mean, you can do whatever you want. There's no rules in that regard. So here's my personal take on gloves, is that I would rather be able to do all the stuff I need to do without them. Either with chalk or hand care maintenance and all that kind of stuff. If I was in a truly competitive fashion and I needed to avoid ripping or overcome a hand rip at all costs, yeah, absolutely, I go to a glove. But day in and day out, I am trying to use as little stuff as possible to support my fitness, which is why I generally refrain from wearing gloves. However, if you're prone to ripping or your grip sucks or whatever it is, it's a perfectly fine tool to have on tap.
Yeah, if you're losing training time because you're ripping, then yeah, throw them on. But typically ripping is a result of some type of dysfunction in your grip or too much swinging on the bar. So you may want to reevaluate that stuff before you start relying on gloves. But if you rip and you can't train, that's a bummer. So throw on some gloves. These are like a
half glove plus a wrist wrap or something.
Yeah, so there's tons of variations out there. Rogue Fitness has pretty much everything.
Yeah. I was going to say one last thing about gloves. Oh yes, if you tend to tear a lot in your hands, come see me. I have a very good strategy on hand care maintenance. I tend to almost never rip. Maybe I'm just lucky, but I think I have a pretty good system in place to avoid that. Next, jump rope. I mean, this is essentially a tool as opposed to like an accessory. If you plan on getting the most out of a CrossFit program, you'll need a speed rope. I mean, there's really no two ways about it.
Yeah, I mean, as this gym in particular has progressed, we've gone from doing 20 double unders every round in a 5-round workout to 100 double unders every round in a 5-round workout. So that stuff adds up. Heavier ropes going to fatigue your shoulders like crazy. That's totally fine. But if you're trying to be competitive and you're trying to maintain the metabolic response that you're getting out of the WOD. You don't want your shoulders to be the limiting factor, so the speed rope can really help out with that. It allows you to stay nice and relaxed, moves really fast, and allows you to knock out those doubles pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Oh, and I think obviously the most important thing is, should you get your own? Yes, absolutely. You get used to the tempo, used to the handles, used to the length. You can customize it to yourself. You can find them from between 10 and $50. It's a very worthwhile investment. And last, tape.
I don't particularly use tape. You can use it obviously for substitute for gloves if you're tearing a lot. Some people like to use it on their wrists. I don't really use it too much.
It's a tool that's out there. I mean, if you were using a bunch of tape every time you came in, you'd go through a lot of tape. It'd be fairly expensive. I would say if you're going through a lot of tape, either for your wrists or your hands or something, invest in a pair of gloves or the more kind of permanent solution. When I have used tape in the past, I found that I was so frustrated and pissed off because it would unwind. It would create like a little uncomfortable knot in my hand. I was not a fan of this, so I would almost certainly go to a cloth or a neoprene substitutes before I got overly reliant on tape. Unless you have a system and you love tape, then go for it.
Yeah, I would say for wrist support, it can be just enough as opposed to getting wrist wraps or something. Also, if you're struggling with your false grip on your muscle ups, tape can work really well. But also on your hook grip, tape can help out a lot, especially if the hook grip isn't super comfortable for you. This tape is good. It's just athletic tape. Rock tape can be really nice because it's stretchy and it's you can get a little more grip and kind of stretch around your fingers and stuff, so it gets a little better fit. But also, goat tape is a tape that's also has a lot of friction, so it's really good for like your hook grip. You can also grab the rings really well for your false grip. So some tape variations out there. If it helps, it helps. So use it if you need to.
Let us know if you have questions about this stuff, guys. We're always happy to share more data, more info, so you guys can get the very most out of your training experience. Happy that you guys watched. And also, if you have any other ideas for videos or things that you want to see, let us know. Thanks for watching.